Hello, ACES students. This is Mabry, and in this video, we are going to go through some cell transport notes. If the year is 2017, you are probably finding this note page in your OneNote notebook on page 32. You are not getting a printout for this set of notes. This is sort of a general outline for you. Scroll down to know what to anticipate. But if I were you, I wouldn't sketch this on my page ahead of time. I would just follow along with the PowerPoint I'm going to be narrating over and just sort of know this is what you have to look forward to. We've got a definition, some more definitions. This right here is going to be a big color picture that you draw. And then there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 more big definitions to round out one page worth of notes. So let's dive in. Now, this learning goal that we are talking about for the next week and a half is all about the cell membrane. And as you remember, the cell membrane's job from this last learning goal is all about regulating who comes in and who goes out. He's a lot like a bodyguard saying, you can come in, but you guys, get out of here. What I really like about this picture is this is an actual microscopic picture of the cell membrane. And you can see there are two layers. There's one layer here and one layer here. And we are going to dive into the cell membrane during this talk to figure out all the cool ways that your cell uses chemistry and biology to do a really complicated job. So here we go. The first word we need to become familiar with is this word right here. And write it down with me. It is called homeostasis. Homeostasis means a stable internal environment. I think, well, that's the technical best way to describe homeostasis. My favorite way to talk about homeostasis is keeping your cell happy and healthy. So let's write down both bullets. And the way that this connects to the cell membrane is that all organelles, whether it's the nucleus or the mitochondria or the endoplasmic reticulum, they are all about keeping the cell in homeostasis, in a happy state, in a healthy state. And the way that the cell membrane does this is by regulating who goes in and who goes out. So the next thing I want you to write down is, again, that function from the first learning goal. Cell membrane, regulate who comes in and who exits. And here's yet another picture you can see of two layers to each cell. Let's figure out why it takes two layers to do this regulation. All right, time for the big picture. What you'll probably want to do now is pause me so you won't have to listen to me talk, and I'd like you to draw this picture in all of its glory. All of you multicolored drawers out there, this is a great time to break out your colored pencils or pens, and go ahead and don't just draw it, but go ahead and label these two layers are called the lipid bilayer. The reason why they're called the lipid bilayer is lipid means fat, bi means two, and layer means layer. So we have one layer of fats on the top, one layer of fats on the bottom. This purple guy right there, he's called a transport protein because he's a protein that, you got it, transports things through these two layers of fats. Here's some more transport proteins. They're a little bit farther back. And here's some things called carbohydrate chains because, you guessed it, they're a chain of carbs. This picture is meant to show you that the inside of the cell would be over here. The outside would be on this side of our picture with carbohydrate chains sticking off on the outside. Now, once you're done drawing this and labeling this, let's go ahead and dive into a picture, or actually a short animation from YouTube that's going to better illustrate. So this animation from YouTube, I think, does a pretty good job illustrating how the cell membrane works. So here we're zooming in on a cell, and notice you can push on a cell membrane. This is just like the egg that we were taking apart the other day, rubbing that shell off with our three-fingered egg massage. And notice how it's flexing here in the video. That's because, oh my goodness, that's because the cell membrane isn't solid. It's made of these two layers of fats, and here are these little proteins that are just sort of smushed in there some, and there are those carbohydrate chains that you drew. And here are the much larger proteins. Yep, that's right. Those are the transport proteins you drew. And see how there's stuff moving in and out? It looks sort of like a airport with things zooming in and out. And you'll notice there's some stuff that's coming, but it's just bouncing off because that cell membrane is saying, hey, you don't have the right key to get inside my membrane. And over here we have a really complex carbohydrate, and notice it doesn't just stay in place, but it can sort of shift and move. You should think of this floating sea of fats as, oh, what do you call it in a pond? Like the lily pads on a pond, they sort of float and wave around. And if I was at school today, we'd be doing a really crazy animation with your hands. Oh, no, thank you. Where you would be sticking your fingers like this and then like this, and we'd be making this layer of fats dan, da, 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 dance, and this layer would be going da, 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 dance, and we'd be like ha da 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 da. We are dancing fats around ourselves. Yeah, I've said half you wouldn't do it, and the other half you would look at me like I'm stupid, but you would always remember that every cell of the 4 trillion cells in your body is coated in 2 layers of fat. Essentially, you're one butter-coated human being. So think about that. All right, back to our presentation. Now it's time for 4 different vocabulary words that help us make sense of our 2 layers of fat. The first being selectively permeable. Selectively permeable is one of those words that sounds really tricky but isn't when you look at the roots. So we have the word selective. Selective in this sense refers to, you know how ladies out there, your dad, if he hasn't already, will probably be like, make good choices when it comes to guys, like be choosy, be picky, be selective. That's the sense we mean selective here. And permeable is to penetrate. So like if this is like, if I can permeate something, if I can go through it, think like dry fit clothing, it'll let air permeate through, but not water. So selectively permeable, being picky about what comes in and out of the cell. That is what your cell membrane is. The next word is transport protein. Those were those little purpley blobs that look like gates. And the way these guys worked is you have to have a key to go in. And if the right key hits, then the gate's like creak, and the thing comes in and then goes creak, and the other thing goes out. So like here comes sugar, right? It's like, here comes sugar. And if he's got the right key to the transport protein, it says open. You get the idea. But if like along comes, HIV, open, it's like, you're not getting in here. No way. So transport protein helps transport particles through the membrane. Okay, let's talk about those weird carbohydrate chains that were like dangling off the top of your picture you drew. Carbohydrate chains are like the student IDs of the cell. So the way that it works is your cells don't have eyeballs in them, so they communicate a lot by touch. And those carbohydrate chains are the ones that say, hey, I'm cool. I belong in this organism. And if you don't have the same carbohydrate chains, then eventually the body's defense mechanism is going to come along and attack you. So carbohydrate chains aren't as much involved with getting things in and out of the cell as much as IDing the cell to the rest of the body. And then finally, lipid bilayer is a phrase that you're going to hear us toss around a lot. And again, lipid means fats, bilayer means 2. Okay, so that's our intro. That's our intro to our cell membrane. Stay tuned for next class period where we really get into what happens when we put our cells in different types of liquids, like those eggs we did the other day. Let's figure out why they get bigger and smaller. Thanks for listening.